Hello everyone, it is a Vicious Vixen and I have a tutorial for you. I wasn't planning on posting this, but I had the footage, so I was like, let's go ahead and do it. I'm starting out with my eyebrows. I didn't do anything too special to them, just filled them in and went around them with concealer, spreading it out with a brush and then blurring it out with a damp beauty sponge. That just helped with blurring out the concealer, so that way I didn't have a halo brow effect. And then I went ahead and set my brows with a face powder in my skin tone. I primed my eyes and made sure to blot that out with the same beauty blender. And now I'm going to just go in with the eyeshadows now. I'm using a matte orange on a fluffy brush, and I'm focusing that on my outer third as well as in my crease area. To get the most color payoff, I'm pushing the shadow into my eye and then blending it out a bit. Since I'm going for a candy cane look, the colors aren't going to need to be blended seamlessly, but I did go around the edges, at least making sure the orange faded off nicely into my brow and the rest of my makeup. For my mobile lid, I am using a cut crease base, and I'm using that on a lip brush to get a shape that I like. As always, no one's eyes are completely symmetrical, so just take your time trying to get a shape that looks mostly symmetrical if that's what you're going for. And since I do have hooded eyes, I made sure to draw the shape over where my eyes crease. And once I'm happy with that, I use that same mini beauty blender to blur out the cut crease base. I am applying a yellow matte shadow the same way I did the orange, patting it on first and then blending it out slightly. And for my inner corner, I added a little bit more of the cut crease base and set that with a white eyeshadow, and that's going to be my inner corner highlight. I did my base off camera, and now I'm going to start on the Spoopy Freckles. To build up the pigment for the orange blush, I'm going to use the cut crease base again, and I'm just going to spread that out and then go over that with the orange shadow, and that's going to be the background for our lettering and our freckles. And I use the same method that I did on my eyes, just pushing the color into the base to help it adhere. I also use the orange shadow almost like a contour. I put it on my chin, brought it across my nose, and added it in the corners of my lips, because I don't think I've ever done that before, and I thought it looked cute. So there we go. So to start the bat wing liner, I did go ahead and fill in my lash line since I knew I'd be wearing lashes. And I drew a C on the outer V of my eye. The top part of the C will be where I pull out the wing from, so that will kind of show you how long the wing will be. My eyes, once again, they didn't match, but since it's a pretty graphic liner, it's not that noticeable. And once you figure out where you want the C to start, you can go ahead and drag out from the point. Anytime you're adding a point, like when you go in to add the points on the lower part of the wings, you place your eyeliner and then drag away from that. That way it'll still be a crisp point. I only added 2 points and I connected that to my lash line, and then I just filled it in with the same liquid liner. If you need a more in-depth tutorial about how I did it, feel free to ask, because no pun intended, but I legitimately just winged it. So the method I used to be able to write backwards on my face was I wrote the word Spoopy on a piece of paper, then I flipped the piece of paper over and I practiced tracing over those letters. That way I could get out of the habit of how it felt to draw them properly, aka when you're reading them. That way it didn't feel as weird to have to draw them backwards on my face, so they showed up properly to the camera. Once I was comfortable with that, I used a jumbo eye pencil to write them on my face. You want to make sure you use something you can easily erase if you don't feel comfortable just freehanding. And then I used a pencil brush to kind of extend the letters and make them look a little bit more spoopy. And yeah, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, but it's definitely weird drawing backwards. I used a black gel liner to start filling in the letters. I did leave some space in certain areas, mostly because I knew I was going to be adding some highlights a little bit later, and I didn't want to risk them mixing too much with the black and making it darker. So I just was careful, took my time filling those in, and I also extended some of the points. That way it looked a little more spoopy, a little more Halloween-y, so it fit the theme. I am now going in with a yellow water activated liner, and I am highlighting the left side of all of my letters. You could also just outline them completely. I just wanted something to kind of bring a little bit more light to the edges of the letters, and I like how it looked. And for the 2 O's in the center of the word, I'm going to turn those into eyes I'm also going to highlight them, but I'm going to put a dot of yellow in the center of them. And then I'm also going to put in a black dot for the iris a little bit later. I went back to my eyes for a second, just making sure to tightline and do my waterline, as well as bringing the orange shadow down onto my lower lash line. I used a brush tip liquid liner to start adding the candy corn shapes. They were literally just like little rounded triangles, essentially. The corners of the triangles were rounded, I mean. I didn't do a lot because I didn't want it to overcrowd the whole look. But for any spaces that I felt like needed some extra texture, I just went ahead and added in some black dots since I had the black eyeliner out already. I also went ahead and extended my inner corner point because I just think it looks nice. So here are the 3 water activated liners I'm using. Sadly, they are discontinued from this company, but they are amazing. Initially for the candy corns, I was just going to start with the white and then add each color. But I realized to get the best pigment out of it, I needed to fill them in with white first. So after adding the little white dots between for extra texture, I went ahead and filled them in with the white liquid liner. And once it was dry, I went over the second third of it with the orange water activated liner. I did have to use 2 coats of this one. And then the very bottom was the yellow. And I also went in and added the orange and yellow dots for texture. Once I was happy, I went ahead and did my lashes. I did put the kind I used in the description along with everything else. And I also added a coat of mascara. For my lips, I used a nude liquid lipstick. And while that dried, I extended the corners of my lips. I've seen Pompberry do this and I always think it looks really cute. And I'd never done it, so I was like, why not? It also kind of made me look like a cute little scarecrow. I used a orange liquid lipstick in the center of my lips, but the tone didn't match the orange on my cheeks. So once it dried down a bit, I set over it with the orange shadow that I used on my cheeks, and that worked out marvelously. And after I added a few finishing touches and changed, the look was done. This look was super fun to do and I felt really cute. And I posted a lot of pictures on my Instagram as well as a spooky version, which you should totally go and check out. But until then, I will see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.